He staggered into the frozen valley, with torn boots and a face burned by the wind. A guard pointed at him and laughed, calling him weak, calling him lost. But the soldier did not answer. He only kept walking, the snow rising to his knees, because he knew something no one else did. He knew he had already walked 200 miles, alone. He collapsed against the old fence first, the wood shaking under his weight. A younger man standing near the checkpoint smirked at him, calling him broken, calling him a ghost from a war that people had already forgotten. The words hit the cold air like sharp stones, but the soldier only lifted his head, eyes steady and distant. Not a single answer left his mouth. His silence made the insult echo even louder. People watched from a distance, unsure if they should help or keep walking. Snow drifted around them like slow, white ashes, as if the sky itself was holding its breath. The soldier's name was Elias Ward, though few knew it. His coat was ripped from shoulder to elbow, and his hands were red from the long trek. Yet he stood with a quiet strength that made the cold seem smaller. He had walked 200 miles through fields of snow, forests of silent trees, and valleys where the wind felt strong enough to push a person back. Every step was a fight. Every mile held the weight of memories he did not speak about. Years earlier, he had served far from home. He remembered the smell of rain on dust, the heat that rose off metal, and the soft rhythm of boots beside him. He remembered the faces of the people he trusted, the ones who never made it back. He could still feel their presence, their laughter, their fire. They walked with him even when the world was cold. He carried their names in his chest like a quiet drumbeat. Now, as the guard mocked him, Elias felt that old drum again. Not anger, not pride, just purpose. He had made this long walk because he promised a friend long ago that he would return to a place they both loved, a small cabin, deep in the woods, where the sun rose across a frozen lake. It was where they had carved their initials in the porch rail, where they had spoken about life after service and the peace they hoped to find. His friend never got to see it again, so Elias walked for both of them. The guard didn't know any of this. He only saw a tired man in torn clothing, one more stranger passing through. But the bystanders could sense something else in Elias, something steady, something unbroken. His silence carried more strength than any argument could. The guard stepped forward, ready to turn him away. Elias said nothing. He simply reached into his coat and pulled out a small metal tag. It glinted in the pale light, scratched and worn, but still whole. A second tag hung beside it, tied with a thin cord. The bystanders saw the truth in that small shape. 2 names, 1 journey. A woman in the crowd placed her heart over her heart. An older man bowed his head. Even the wind seemed to soften. The guard's smirk faded. He looked down at the tags, then at the soldier's boots, torn from the miles he had crossed. A quiet shame crept across his face. Elias didn't seek pity. He didn't need an apology. His silence was his answer. His dignity filled the space the guard's cruelty had tried to claim. One of the bystanders stepped forward and opened the checkpoint gate. Another offered a warm coat. A third handed him a cup of water. They didn't speak because they didn't need to. Their actions spoke instead. Elias walked through, moving like a man carrying both memory and hope. He reached the cabin by evening. Snow covered the roof. The lake was frozen smooth. He touched the carved initials on the railing, letting the cold wood steady him. A simple line formed in his heart, something he had carried through every storm. A promise walked in silence is still a promise kept. Another rose behind it, gentle and true. Some miles are not crossed by the feet, but by the spirit. As he stood there, people from the checkpoint arrived in a small group, bringing blankets, food, and warm lantern light. They didn't come out of duty, they came out of respect. And in that glow, the long path Elias walked no longer belonged to him alone. It became a reminder that quiet honor is still seen, still felt, still alive. When the night settled, the world around him seemed warmer. The story ends here, but the message stays. Respect the silent heroes who carry unseen storms, who walk long paths with steady hearts. For those watching, share where you're from, share what this story meant to you, and subscribe for more moments that honor those who walk with quiet strength.